For wrestling diehards only, this is the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
Hey, welcome in. That's right. Another edition of the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast, breaking down the great sport of wrestling week in, week out in the state of Idaho. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Brandon Bainey. Let's introduce you to our panel tonight. Joining us from the Treasure Valley, Coach Al Fontes. What's going on, Al?
Not much. Happy to, it's been a good weekend. Good weekend coming back from Reno.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about for sure. Also joining us tonight on the Mat Chat Prepcast from East Idaho, Brian Zollinger. Brian, what's up?
What's going on, diehards?
I love that hat. So Al's got his Idaho hat on that his wife helped him pick out. And Brian,
she got it someplace. She can't remember. It was at just some store. So probably a rest stop somewhere.
And Brian is repping his Fargo hat tonight. Looks good.
The word that only has meaning in the wrestling community, right? Fargo.
Yeah, Fargo.
That's right, for sure. So, and of course, Al and Brian and myself are here, but so are all of you, the wrestling community, the wrestling diehards. And we want to hear from you tonight in the chat. You can check this Prepcast out live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account, as well as the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page as well. And so if there is a team, a player, or a wrestler, a coach you want to give a shout out to, you want to ask us a question, throw it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen and break it all down for you there. So let's start the show like we always do. And one more reminder, too, is everybody's watching tonight. Not everybody can make it live. A lot of people like to watch the replay, the next day or in the next couple of days before the weekend hits. If you could hit that like button and then share this, they're going to be able to find it so much easier amongst all the clutter and the noise on social media. So thank you for doing that as well as you're sitting here tonight hanging out in the chat. All right, we always start the show with the best thing that I saw from the last week. Al, I have a feeling yours is going to be something from Reno. What was the best thing you saw last week?
When it was just the match with Jason Mara and Ethan Parco in the finals, it went into overtime. That match was tough. I'd say 150s is one of the toughest weight groups. Parco had to go through Cepeda from Gilroy, who's ranked number 3 in the country. He beat him in triple overtime. This went into overtime. That weight was loaded. I would just say that finals match where Mara did that last-second takedown to win the championship. You heard my dogs in the background because my wife just got home.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on mute for a second, Al, as we ask Brian what was and obviously the dogs went wild for Al's thing he saw. Brian, what was the best thing you saw from the past week?
I like it. Dogs in the house. The best thing, I'll go East Idaho. I was over here this weekend and, two back and forth between two tournaments. Best things I saw, Madison pulling out the High Country Duels win, which was a big team win for Madison. Against South Fremont, American Falls, and Blackfoot were the top 4. And then at the girls tournament, Skyline pulled out the win, almost doubled up the second place team. It was almost like a Skyline duel in the finals. They, I think, had 6 finalists and 2 in the third and fourth place match. So that was pretty impressive to see for a team that 2 years ago was 2 girls, I think, or 3, and now they've got full squad plus. So they looked good.
Yep. And I'll say the best thing that I saw, one was in competition, one was kind of away from competition. Both of them I happened to catch on social media. The first thing I saw, Brian, was a post from Butte County High School up in Arco, and they're kind of riding the wave a little bit, right? They just won their first football championship in school history. Well, for the first time in several years, they've got a wrestling program put together. Here's what they said: Pirate Wrestling Club in full effect. Our pirate wrestlers are taking to the mats for the first time in years. We're excited to be bringing back the program and cannot wait to see what these young grapplers can do. Word on the street is that it will open up to middle school next year as well. How awesome is that? Brian, I love this, to see a school of Butte County size having enough interest to get a wrestling team together.
Yep, that's pretty amazing. Love it. Love to see it. For years you had Butte County and you had Clark County in Idaho. Obviously, I think a population of a couple hundred. And if they had a kid, they would send them to a local school, West Jefferson or whatever the closest program was. So for them to be bringing wrestling back, that's pretty awesome. Love to see it.
And then in the arena, Al, I'm going with another very small school. It would be a 1A D2 in every other sport. Tri-Valley, playing with athletes from both Midvale and Cambridge, went up to the Andrew Beck Memorial Tournament in Grangeville and went undefeated. They beat the Lewiston JV, Orofino, Lapway, Grangeville, Nampa Christian, a second Lewiston JV team, and then Clearwater Valley. The last match was the tightest, 45-42, but that gave Tri-Valley the championship. That's really impressive from a small program like Tri-Valley as well, Al.
No, they probably got some impressive coaching there, and just had the heart and desire to do it, and that's all it takes.
Yeah, so there was some pretty incredible stuff. And of course, everybody in the comments talking about the best things they saw from the last weekend. Rob says, shout out to BK for taking Tri-State with a small team. And Jacob was with us in the comments tonight. He's on dad duty. So yeah, BK winning Tri-State for sure. And then Jacob says, I would hop on, but if you think Al's dogs are getting after it, imagine an 11-month-old. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. So Jacob, you just pop in the comments tonight and we'll throw them up on the screen with your thoughts. Let's see. Shara says, go Skyline. And Shanna says, yay, Madison. And here's Billy and Chelsea saying, go Thunder Ridge girls. So our East Idaho supporters are out in full force. Tom says the best thing he saw was Century almost putting South Fremont into the 2-pod. Pretty awesome to see there. That's a big result for Century, Brian.
It is. Yeah, I talked to their coach this weekend and just super impressed what they put together. They had a couple transfers, but they put together a program. I mean, they were competitive, and it came down to that last duel of South, and it just about happened. So that was definitely impressive.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about BK going up to Tri-State and winning it, Bridget, Post Falls supporter, of course, says we loved having them in our neck of the woods. Yeah, we were talking about that last week, the travel north. I would love to see more teams do it. Hoyt says the same thing. BK was the story of the week. They are a class act team full of hammers for sure. So yes, BK going up to Tri-State and winning, big eye opener, Al, but so was, as Amy says, Buell taking the Wiley Dobbs by 80 points. And Kevin agrees. He says Buell killed it at Wiley Dobbs. Big statement.
Yeah, they had 5 champions, 7 finalists, and 11 placers overall. So they looked pretty good over Jerome. They had Elko, Nevada there, and Cunis sent a team and then I think Twin Falls was 5th. So yeah, it was a great showing. Having 7 finalists is huge.
Yeah, we're getting more Madison love in the chat here. Kip says, way to go, Madison Wrestling. Jacob says, the 152 for Madison is a tough cat. And
yeah, he had some big wins, and that win against Avalos from American Falls, who took out Riker Vale in overtime at 45, bumped up to wrestle Hannah, and then got tagged. I mean, Hannah from Madison at 52, that was, I don't want to say unexpected, but I mean, he dominated. That was pretty impressive.
And Riker Vale is, I mean, he's the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I think we had him number 1 in our rankings coming into this, and it was a tough match and could have won either way, but it was an overtime match with Avalos from American Falls and Vale. Super impressive on both of their parts, but then to see Avalos bump up to 52 and get tacked by Hannah was kind of crazy. One of the more crazy results I saw.
Yeah, for sure. Xerxes is in the chat. Go Skyline. And Melissa, I assume these are all people related to you, Brian.
Yeah, he should probably be in bed right now. But
the holiday break's almost here, Brian. Okay, Melissa says Lapway's team is showing strong this year. They are in their 2nd year, Al. Yes, so Lapway is a basketball school first and foremost. Girls basketball, boys basketball, both heavily favored to win the state championships this year in hoops, but they are starting a wrestling culture. How tough is it to start a wrestling culture from the ground up at a school primarily known for basketball? I'm sure you saw that in California at schools along the way.
It's very difficult, but if you have great leadership at the grassroots and at the high school level working together, it can come. It just takes a lot of work, but you got to have the leadership on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. Lapway was at, go ahead. Sorry, Al.
They set the vision. They set the tempo, just like with Idaho USA. This national championship didn't happen overnight. It took years. They set a vision, the blueprint for action, and they've been working. Thousands of people have been involved with this, and it takes a community to build something like this.
For sure.
It's possible.
Yep. And I'll tell you that at Lapway, I mean, winning is the standard. So that's a proud tradition they have up there. Billy and Chelsea say wrestling way better than basketball. Well, we're gonna find out at Lapway if they can get it turned around. That would be the ultimate story for sure. Okay. Before we dive into previewing what's ahead and taking more of your questions and shout outs, we all talked about the best thing that we saw from the past week. Al, unfortunately, we got to swing the other way and talk about the worst thing that we saw from the past week, Al. And this is something that happened to you personally at Reno TOC as you were coaching your team. We do this for fun, for you, the wrestling community. All of the articles that Al writes, the rankings that we put out, the prepcasts that we do, it is all for you, the wrestling community. Now, there's a line that can be crossed sometimes, Al, and that line was unfortunately crossed with you personally this past weekend.
Yeah, I don't want to talk. I can't give any details based on the counsel I've had so far. I was attacked by a parent over an issue. I never even met the people before, never even interact with them, but they weren't happy that their wrestler wasn't written about or talked about. The list of people I want to write about is about this big. And I spend hundreds of hours working on this. I'm one guy. So like I said, I can't discuss more. I know the matter is being addressed with the authorities, but it was a shock to me that in my 30 years, I've never dealt with this before.
Yeah. And so the articles that Al writes, he doesn't have to do that. He's volunteering his time to provide that service. That's why we have the Prepcast. Okay. This is the open forum for you to give your child, your favorite coach, your favorite athlete, the shout out here. And we're not always going to be able to get to everybody in the written space, but it is never okay to cross that line and physically, invade someone's space, especially if it's Al, if it's Brian, if it's myself, it doesn't matter. Okay. There's a way to go about it. You can send an email, you can have a conversation with us, but getting physically involved, never okay. And Al, when you told me that story, I was really disheartened by it because it's 99% of the wrestling community is awesome, but it's that 1%, right, that can ruin it.
Yeah, it's probably 0.001%.
Right.
If you do the math. I've never dealt with this before. For every 10 kids I write about, there's probably 50 more I want to write about. My list is long. I've invested thousands of hours. I don't consider it a job, a work. It's a passion. And, all they have to do is communicate. There is no bias anyone. I'm trying to represent everyone I can. There are certain criteria we try to work by to who we write about. But nonetheless, it was very unfortunate. It has nothing to do with the school that these people came from. But hopefully it'll be taken care of, and hopefully it'll never happen again. I like to move forward.
That's what I love about the wrestling community. Like you said, Brandon, for the most part, what I see in wrestling can be summed up as the abundance mentality. When people are truly happy about the success of others, you see that so much in this sport. So it's sad to see something like that happen because, it's a family. The kids that have beaten my kids, or even I look back to my state high school finals, the kids I wrestled there, they're lifelong friends. We still communicate. It's because you're happy about the success of others. You're competitive. It's probably one of the most competitive sports out there. It's fiercely competitive, but when you leave the mat, there's bonds created. And that's what I love about wrestling. So it's sad to see something like that happen.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm just putting the message out there right now. Don't be that person. Don't cross that line, and let's all be civil about it for sure. So anyways, now we'll get back to the wrestling results here. Now, Megan does say, she wanted to chime in with one of the worst things she saw. This was in the finals at Tri-State finals, trap arm slam against Matthew Martino in the finals. He did win by an injury default over a kid from Meade High in Washington. And Daniel chimes in as well. Illegal moves that result in injury and hospitalization should result in suspension, not just a DQ with the match. We in North Idaho are all praying for Bishop Kelly and Matthew Martino. That's always tough to see.
I heard he's doing well. I've been in contact. I don't have the today, but this week, and I heard he's recovering well. And, that's what I know right now.
Yeah, we're certainly hoping, the dynamic Matthew Martino can get back out there soon. And it's always tough when you see something like that happen, for sure. So
we had a kid at Rocky that happened to at the Reno tournament, and we had to take him to the hospital. Luckily, everything is fine, just needs a little rest and recovery, and he'll be back on the mat as well. It's scary, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it is. It is a scary ordeal for sure. More shout outs coming in here. Cody says, how about Middleton Middle School taking third at state? Middleton in the hunt for a trophy. That's not too far from where you're at, Al.
Yeah, Middleton's tough. They could be one of those teams that challenge for top 4, top 3. We'll see. Nampa, Post Falls, and Meridian are going to be tough to break that top 3, but they're right there. We'll see.
Yep, for sure. Okay, let's see. Melissa, she was talking about Lapway earlier. She says, Maniacs strong and proud. That's the Orofino Maniacs, slowly restarting a program, for sure.
It's got to be one of the best mascots in the country, too. I love that.
Yep, for sure. It is unique. The Orofino Maniacs, for sure. Okay, let's go to a shout out here from John Young. The best thing he saw was Jason Mara winning Reno Tournament of Champions, and Meridian took 6th as a team, Al. And this is going to segue perfectly into a new feature we're bringing to the show every week here on the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast. We all get together on a group chat and we kind of submit nominees for our Wrestler of the Week. That's right. And then we'll honor the Wrestler of the Week every Tuesday night on the new episode. It was pretty unanimous this week. It's Jason Mara for winning at Reno.
No, he's an exceptionally tough kid, 3-time state champion. He's multiple All-American. He's going to Stanford. At the Reno TOC, I'd say his weight was one of the toughest in the tournament. In the final, he beat Ethan Parko, who's ranked number 11 in the country. And in the semis, Parko had beat his fellow state wrestler, Cepeda from Gilroy, who's number 3 in the country. That match was in triple overtime. And then Mara's match went in overtime. He hit a sweet single leg and got the takedown on the edge. I got a video of it. It was pretty good, but well-deserved. Well-deserved. He's a great student. In fact, the wrestler he wrestled in the final, Parko's going to Stanford as well. So they'll probably be workout partners. So very impressive.
Just set the tone early for sure. So yeah, if you are the Idaho Wrestler of the Week, you get a little bio blast up on the screen too. So here it is. Jason Mara from Meridian High School, also on the club scene, competes with Fighting Squirrels, WC. Love that. 138-pound sophomore. And Al, it is really important that we highlight the wrestling accolades. Certainly 3-time 5A state champ, 3-time District 3 champ, all sorts of national placements and All-American honors. But just as importantly are at the top the academic accolades as well. National Honor Society on the Principal's Honor Roll and a 4.0 GPA with college prep classes, which is no small feat.
No, it's not. And, the picture there we're seeing is of his sophomore year. Being a senior, he's an exceptional student. Great person to be around. He's going to do well in the future, both on and off the mat.
Yeah, those academics are important, Brian, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mara's being around him and the team duels. He's such a natural leader too. He's great with the rest of the team, building people up when they're down. I mean, Mara's just one of those kids, just born to be a leader and great kid.
And obviously, I typed that in wrong. Jason's not a sophomore anymore. That's what the picture was, but he's not a sophomore, obviously. So my bad on that. That'll be better moving forward.
Oh, good.
That is our Idaho Wrestler of the Week. And Kristen says, woohoo, that's my kid. You can see the little Stanford logo in the background of her profile picture right there. That's awesome. And Molly says, well deserved. So yes, we're looking forward to having this new segment every week, our Wrestler of the Week here on the Idaho Matt Chat Prepcast. And Jacob says, Mara, better than Parco, better than Cepeda, better than Bassett. What do you think of that line of logic, Al?
They're so close yeah, they're all in that cluster. But Mara proved he held him strong, never panicked in any of his matches at Reno. He looked like he wanted to be there. In fact, he had lost to Parco, I think, the year before in the quarterfinals. So and he had beaten him in years past, but this was an important match, and he's solid.
Yep. So from Meridian, which has, no shortage of athletes to choose from, one last time we'll check in with Lapway because this is important. Melissa says, I'm super proud of our wrestler, Martinez. He was our only wrestler at the Andrew Beck Memorial Tournament. No matter whether he won or lost, he always came up smiling, and he was just happy to be there. Brian, one guy carrying the torch for the school.
Yeah, that's super impressive. There was a kid out of Clark County kind of did the same thing. He was the only kid, and he qualified for state that year. So that's just awesome to see. So congratulations, Martinez, and keep building up there. That's pretty cool to see.
Oh, sorry, that was for Orofino. Sorry, Melissa says Orofino. Okay, sorry.
And Brandon, we've shown you got Buell, 375 students. They produce state level kids. Some kids have been All-Americans. You got South Fremont, 475 kids. They produced All-American state championship teams. It's not quantity helps, but quality coaching and just a vision is huge. And that's what you have in these small town communities.
Yep, for sure. And so it does. I mean, that success builds at the high school level first, and then it trickles down to middle school. We talked about Butte County having a team for the first time in years, and they're going to have a middle school team next year. And we were talking about Middleton, winning, taking third at the middle school state competition. And as a add-on to that, there was somewhere in the comments basically that said, the middle school competition is no joke, Brian, because it is one champion. That's it.
Yep, no doubt about it. It's a super state for the middle school. So it is, anytime you can place or win that's super amazing. So yeah, no doubt about it.
Yep. Anthony says it right here. Middle school state is no joke. No divisions, just one champion. Tough to place for sure. So
Brian, real quick, I didn't get a chance to look at those results because I was at Reno. Where would you say a vast majority of the placers came? Did they come from the Treasure Valley, or was it spread out pretty good?
I think it was pretty spread out, pretty good. I mean, you probably had more from the Treasure Valley just because numbers wise, I think you had more there. But, overall it was pretty spread out. Homedale, I think, was the second place team, which, that's another, is Homedale, 3A school. It's not a large population base. So for them to take second there, that was pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. And you had kids, Sandpoint was in fourth with coming to cleared it from down north. So it was pretty spread out through the entire state, I would say, that the champions. So
it's cool.
Yeah. Good signs.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And then, I was looking at the tri-state results, obviously, because that's in my backyard. BK took first. Post Falls took third. They were pretty close, Al. BK had 218. Post Falls was at 209.
Yeah, so 218, they had two champs, BK, 4 finalists and 9 placers, whereas Post Falls had 1 champ, only had the 1 finalist and 8 placers. So they had almost as many placers. Meade Washington, who's a 3A state champion, was at 211.5. And so the top 3 was pretty close. We're just talking one more wrestler getting in the finals would have made a big difference. Yeah. So very close.
Definitely razor thin. We're getting some more chatter about the middle school state tournament that happened here. Let's see. Coeur d'Alene Middle School won it. Madison Middle School was 5th. Corey says, yeah, Madison was like 5th. And then how about this from Chris? He says Farnsworth Middle School placed 12th with only 4 kids. That's in Rigby, Brian.
Yep. Yeah, good for Farnsworth. And they've got 2 middle schools there. So, that's impressive to do that with 4 kids, quality kids for sure.
Yep. And Jacob adds a little context as well to what happened at Tri-State. Ryder Seguin finishing healthy could have brought them into second place as a team for Post Falls. We're hoping for a quick recovery there as well for Ryder.
And that's what I'm talking about is if that didn't happen, he's in the finals. That's several points right there. Put him even that much closer, 9 points away. So.
Yeah, for sure. Here's Natalie, Leah Loya from Madison, state champ. She's a beast. That's at the middle school level again. And so that's always the big question now is, which of these middle schoolers are going to come to the high school level and be able to compete right away? And which ones are, they're kind of the late bloomers. Maybe they go to state their freshman year and they place 5th or 6th, but you can see the potential there. That's what makes it so fun to track all of these young men and women as they compete throughout their high school careers.
Yeah, there's definitely some girls in the middle school. I've seen some at Heritage. Definitely, if they stay on that trajectory, they can go to the national level. But middle school success doesn't equate to high school success. You got to be able to adapt to that next level. Maturity, same thing going into college. So we'll see.
Mental too, right? You can go and
90%.
Yep, for sure. Okay, Anthony says at the middle school meet, Fruitland placed 9th with 9 wrestlers that went. 5 of the 9 placed, 2 champs. That's pretty good. That's pretty outstanding. And then Amy says, shout out to the Army it took to put on middle school state, the Christmas Clash Duel tryouts, and folk style festival. That was a marathon for sure, Brian.
Yeah, and to do it while we had high school tournaments in every corner of the state, so you're without all the high school help and the dads that have kids at both. I mean, we were in East Idaho. We had half the dads with kids on the high school team had kids that they'd sent with the other spouse or friends or a bus. So definitely impressive for the state to put all those on at the same time.
Yep. So Al, I gotta think. Obviously, the biggest weekend of regular season wrestling is Raleigh Lane, right? But that's a lot of teams coming to one spot. In terms of tri-state up north, and Andrew Beck Memorial Tournament was held, in District 2, and you had the Wiley Dobbs, and you had all the stuff going on in East Idaho and Reno TOC. Was this the biggest weekend of competition, just in terms of everybody being spread out and competing at different places?
Definitely for the early part of the season, yes. Yes,
yeah.
It is. It is probably one of the busiest. I mean, most of it's going to be off for 2 weeks, then come right back and then have to hit Raleigh Lane, which will be tough. And we all sort of get out of condition a little bit. So hopefully that'll be a wake-up call, Raleigh Lane. So it'll be interesting to see who's prepared.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I think last I saw it, 89 teams coming to Raleigh Lane. So that's, there's a California team coming this year, several Nevada, 10 plus Washington, Oregon, Utah. I didn't see many Montana teams this year, which was interesting. You see a Flathead, but with, close to 90 teams, that's going to be a fun weekend.
Yeah. One of my former wrestlers I coached back in California, his daughter's on a team in Douglas, and he's like, yeah, we're coming to Raleigh. So we're ready to come. They look forward to it. They heard it was a good tournament. So
yeah. Chris says Raleigh Lane is going to be a movie this year. Yeah. And Amy says Raleigh Lane, and then the same weekend, 3A state preview at the 50th annual Buell Invite. 50 years, Brian.
That's super impressive. Wow. I did not know that tournament's been going on for 50 years. There's not many in the state that have lasted that long. So that's, 2 big tournaments that weekend. That'll be fun. And it is a good 3A preview. Just about everybody from, this half of the state, at least, that's 3A goes there. So.
Yep. Tom says Buell tourney is going to be tough as well. Sounds like maybe that's where Century's headed. Tom here representing Century. More shout outs. Let's see. Hoyt says Ryder never quit, talking about Ryder Seguin from Post Falls. It's something to be proud of. Heart of a champion. Megan Haas says shout out to Cooper Bugner taking state out of Lewiston. Middle school action again there. Anthony Oligue, I hope I said your name right, Anthony, says Molly Oligue beats a senior 4th state placer at the Ryrie Rumble as a freshman. Al, that's what we were talking about. Those freshmen can come in sometimes and open our eyes a little bit.
We're seeing it at the high school level. We're seeing it at the collegiate level. And we got high school seniors beating Olympic level wrestlers now. The quality is getting better. These kids have access to more wrestling, more tournaments, high level wrestling's more than I've ever seen it.
Yep. Billy and Chelsea, shout out to Taylor Brown coming back strong after her injury for Thunder Ridge as well. Al, what point, because you're coaching, at what point in the calendar do you start looking at, because injuries happen all throughout the season, right? Earlier season injuries, obviously you have more time to come back. Is there a cutoff date that coaches look at and go, okay, if you're not making progress by this date, it's going to be hard to get you, the number of matches you need to be ready for what would be a postseason run?
It really depends on the skill set of a wrestler. I mean, if they're an exceptionally experienced wrestler, they can recover really quick and get there. But if it's a newer wrestler, haven't been around, it may be a lot longer. So weeks instead of a week, right? So It depends on experience. And, with concussion protocols now, if a kid gets even getting hit on the head and they go into concussion protocol, you're talking it could be a week or more, right?
Yeah.
So we got some parameters that we got to work with. There's certain things you don't want to happen at the end of the year.
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago on the Matt Chat Prepcast, everybody was talking about that heavyweight battle at Toppenish, right? And how it kind of spilled over outside the circle. And we had a fan actually send in a video clip of that tussle. And so I wanted to throw it up on the screen. I'm glad everybody walked away feeling okay from this, but check this out.
Let's go, Xander!
Have to get a new table.
Yeah.
Busting it up. It's like WWE.
Brian, awesome. You ever seen anything like that?
Yeah, it happens. Probably. I don't know if I've seen a table collapse quite that good, but I've seen people run into the tables at least once a year. But that's beautiful to see the whole table collapse like that. Zach Phelps must have been reffing that.
Yeah, there's Zach right there. Yep. Somebody in the comments said the best thing they saw this weekend, Brian, was you in stripes.
That felt good. Like got the neck brace off, and I reffed one in Pocatello, and I got there and there was no officials. Like it was an inter-district match, so no officials were assigned, and I showed up in my street clothes, still wearing my neck brace, and they're just like, "Hey, can you ref?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, if you don't mind street clothes." And but it felt good in stripes again finally. So
Brian, you have to be in shape to be an official. You got to be in condition. I mean, I'm talking all day tournaments, right?
Yeah. It's a grind.
It's a grind.
Taking the shoes off for sure.
Yep.
For sure. Jacob says 5th best East Idaho ref, Brian.
He's talking about Phelps there. I'm in the other district.
Yeah. And speaking of Phelps, he said, "I'm late to the party, but it can't be understated what BK did at Tri-State. 9 wrestlers, all of them wrestled their hearts out. Castaneda looked amazing, and until he got injured, Martino looked like a superstar. No doubt about it." Talking about that heavyweight tussle we were talking about, we showed the clip there. Bethany said, "Got even more fun after Xander's match." And then Lynn says they took out the table, the scoreboard, computer, etc. So it's for sure. That was a good matchup. Billy and Chelsea were talking about Taylor Brown from Thunder Ridge and her recovery. She was out 8 months and then was able to come back right where she left off, Al. So we talk about, if it's a wrestler that you feel good about, you can come right back in and almost like you didn't miss a beat. Now, they said obviously her endurance decreased, but it's really how dedicated the wrestler wants to be, Al, in that recovery. Yep. Okay, we were talking about Tri-State. How about this, guys? Derek Booth, new coach at North Idaho College, in the comments tonight. Coach Booth, thank you for checking out the action. We appreciate it. He says NIC appreciates all the teams who attended the 52nd annual Tri-State. And Al, your gear is en route.
I'll wear it in the next podcast. Thank you, Derek.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Coach Booth is doing really remarkable things at North Idaho College, Brian.
Yep, he is. It's fun to see. Got some local wrestlers up there again, some recruiting some Idaho kids, some Montana kids, and some really great freshmen. They've had a stellar start to the season. It's awesome to see Coach Booth up there and kind of bring the glory back to North Idaho College. Can't wait to see the future.
And we've talked about, we need another program, but we got them and we got to really promote them. I really want to do where I can to promote them and highlight, wrote that one article. Derek, I want to do more. So, let me know. So anything we can do to help promote it.
And it's awesome that they host that tournament up there. I mean, Tri-State this year, Idaho had a really good showing. I didn't count up, but I mean, from 52 to 70, you had 3 in a row in the finals from Idaho that won it, 52, 60, and 70. Great showing from Idaho kids at that tournament, and it's getting built up to be one of those second tier in the nation tournaments. It was really tough. So Idaho should be proud, and North Idaho College did a great job hosting.
So, Brian, do they hold it in an old gym? I heard it's like traditionally been in this older gym. Or is that where it's held?
I've never been up to it. I've just looked at the results online and I watched the finals videos, and it looks like an old gym, but I've never been up there.
Old tradition. Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool wrestling room they've got up there. I was able to sneak in and take a look at it when I was up there doing some basketball stuff. I know basketball. Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
You're right. Yeah, and Bridget says yes in the old gym. And Lynn says the original old NIC gym. Yep, Christensen gym. That's where the basketball's at too, for sure. And Jacob says they put it on the number 6 team in JUCO last week. He thinks it was number 6 in the rankings. So. And I was looking at the roster real quick. They've got 8 Idaho wrestlers from the Gem State. So
and they traditionally have it. They won a lot of national championships with a lot of Idaho kids on those teams back in the days. So, Coach Booth's doing a good job, and I expect to see national championships coming in the future, bringing it back to Idaho.
Yeah, it's awesome to see NIC taking off the way they have for sure. Okay, and let's see here. Yeah, Corey says no more basketball talk.
I agree.
Yes, I try to keep it to a minimum here for sure. Lana says late chat on middle school state, but Burke Camberlongo from Victory Middle School took first in 190 without a coach present and through a knee injury. He'll be one to watch. Brian, you ever seen anybody compete without the coach there?
It happens, especially at those middle, and you got to appreciate the fortitude of those kids to go out and do it. Middle school, it's one of those ages why you're nervous at that age. So good for him.
And now Victory Middle School feeds into, does that feed into a public school? Is that Victory?
I think they're down close to Mountain View. I think they're in Southern Meridian. So I think that's where they go.
See, I asked you because there's middle schools all over, and some kids end up going to Meridian, and some go to Mountain View, and some go. I know it gets kind of
keep changing the lines. The boundaries with the growth happening, the boundaries are changing. I know when Oahe was opened up, they restructured the lines again. Star is growing a little bit, so some of those kids were going to Eagle. So I mean, there could be some more changes to come in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Lana says Victory wrestlers all went solo since the team didn't go. So maybe coach was with somebody else, a couple mats over. And so, that happens in sports like tennis a lot sometimes where the kid's just out there on their own without the coach, for sure.
Yeah. And in these kid tournaments, that's tough because a lot of the coaches are at the high school tournaments, a lot of the dads that are at the high school tournaments coach the little kids programs or the high school coaches. So it's pretty common there, but good for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, no, I was just going to say at Rocky, our middle school coaches are also part of the high school team. So they come after that. So that helps out a lot, sort of that feeder program.
They come now. When you say they come, are you saying
they're also Rocky coaches? A couple of the coaches, the head coach, and some of the assistant coaches at Heritage are also coaches at Rocky as well.
And so they come on to the Rocky staff once the middle school season is over?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like a good way to do it for sure.
It helps.
Yeah. Eddie says, I saw some great matches at the High Country Conference duels, Brian. 2A through 5A schools all battling it out.
Tons of fun matches. Eddie's kid and my kid battled it out. It was should have went overtime. It was decided on a stall call, literally with 5 seconds left. I hated to see it. I wish they had went overtime. But that was a great match. One of the best matches I saw. There were, Packer and Googleman. When Googleman took out Packer, that was an impressive result. You had Banta bump up, Banta from South Fremont bump up and wrestle Mauger. Mauger won that, but good for Banta to bump up to get that competition. Saxton Scott and Mauger had a an exhibition match because Saxton isn't qualified to, or I guess cleared to wrestle, score team points yet. So that was just an exhibition match, but there were some great matches there. Up and down the lineups, like we said before, Madison looked really good. Blackfoot had a solid squad. American Falls, until they wrestled Madison, looked pretty dominant. So yeah, great. Some really good matchups.
Yeah, Zach says Googleman beating Packer was a big win. Real quick, back to the middle school state. Lana says that's where parents come in and are awesome, though. Lots of mom and dad mat coaches that weekend when the coaches are with the high school team for sure. Okay, so you mentioned Brian. Let's talk about the elephant in the room with Saxton Scott. There's been a lot of free Saxton Scott comments in the chat. Hashtag free Saxton Scott. Hoyt, he's up in North Idaho. He's not really privy to East Idaho. He's saying, what's this free Saxton Scott talk? He maybe as best as you can describe the situation that's going on there.
Yeah. Saxton Scott was at Bonneville High School his first 2 years of school. Obviously, amazing wrestler. Wanted to transfer to Idaho Falls High School for personal reasons. Obviously in Idaho, we have the policy. It's not family didn't move as far as I know. They may have moved, but I'm not aware that they moved. So you've got to go through the Idaho High School Athletic Association, get approval. My understanding, they're waiting on final approval to get that done. And so until he does, he can't wrestle varsity events, score team points. And so he's stuck doing JV stuff or exhibition matches. I'm with, me personally, this is kind of my background. I went to law school to do sports law. I like the open transfer rule. At least, I saw Jacob in the comments said Oklahoma just approved a one-time transfer. To me, it's best interest of the child, whatever's best for those kids. I get it. Coaches don't like the recruiting that happens with some private schools and transfers and stuff like that. But I just like to see the kids be able to go where they think is best for them. And, as coaches, we need to just get better. If our kids, go build our program, and it does suck to see somebody leave like that, but that's kind of where it's at. Is they're just waiting on, whether they go through the appeals process with IHSAA to get Saxton approved, and, just hoping they can get him approved to be eligible before the district and state tournaments.
Yeah. So the way it works now is you can transfer from one school to another. You can have what's called a bona fide move where the family moves. But now there's a new stipulation in place that if it's within 20 miles of your previous school district, you have to have additional information showing, yes, we have moved. We've got, our address and bills and that sort of thing. And if there is no move, you can still transfer schools if there is some sort of hardship. If there is something going on at the previous school where it's not in the best interest of the student or the child, like you said, Brian, and that is when you can file an appeal with the IHSAA and apply for that hardship and then be granted immediate eligibility. And it sounds like that's where we're at in the process, is the IHSAA is just reviewing that, right?
Yeah. I've heard that the original application was denied. And so now it goes to so I think the original application goes to a smaller member board. I think it's 5 members, and then they can appeal it to the full member, which I think is about 14 board members, and then they can approve it there. And if it doesn't get approved there, then you take it to the courts if you want. And there's other routes. So that's where they're at now, and we hope to be able to see him wrestling soon.
Yep, for sure. Bridget from Post Falls says, I thought we were open. Yes, open enrollment for school, but that does not mean that you are automatically eligible for athletics. For example, Post Falls, if a Post Falls student went to Coeur d'Alene for some reason, they would still have to get approved by the IHSAA to compete in varsity competition. You can compete at the JV level. Billy and Chelsea say hopefully Bonneville will release him. I don't know that it's, Bonneville can write a letter of support. They don't have to. The situation had no recruiting. What's best for Saxton. I like this comment, Al. Megan says, RIP to the JV kids that have to wrestle Saxton Scott.
True.
Yep. Amy says, it's usually adults making the decisions anyway, not the kids, but it is rough to see some kids losing a year and others not. Remington Windmill losing year was ridiculous, going from a 4A to a 2A, and the 4A school filing a complaint. Colin Robinson gave up a year. Those are just some recent examples, Brian. But yes, typically the adults are part of this process because they're parents, right? Yeah. They're going to look out for their child's best interest.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the system that the courts use is best interest of the child's standard. And I would love around the country to see that standard adopted. And I get, the flip side of that is if you're a coach and you put in countless hours developing these kids, and then they get to high school and they want to go wrestle for another team or, that's tough on that side of the two. And so I understand why the rule exists, but I just love the best interest of the child standard that we use for legal decisions. And I'd like to see something like that implemented for high school sports and all sports, not just wrestling.
Yeah. Al, what was it like in California? Because you've got, the population density there. You got people jumping schools all the time.
It was very inconsistent based on section. Southern SoCal, the southern section, you'd see a lot more moving around. It was allowed, the rules were a little bit different. Up where I was at, it was pretty stringent. You move, you use a year of eligibility for athletics. Very rare circumstance that you can get eligible for sport as well.
Wow. And that's
a hardship.
Yeah. And that's one of the other complicating factors, Brian, is this new wrinkle that they've added with this 20-mile radius. Obviously, all your Idaho Falls schools are going to be within that radius. They're all right in there. So,
yeah. And it's an interesting dynamic because it's not like the schools themselves that are government owned and have certain rules they have to follow. IHSA is technically a private organization that the member school, I guess you could call it quasi-government. So it really adds, an interesting wrinkle on changing things. And most of the states are set up the same way, that they have a private organization that member schools join. And by joining, you have to abide by their rules. And so, it takes all the schools to get together to really change anything. So it rarely happens.
Yeah, we did see, not to go off topic here, but we did see that earlier this year with this reclassification proposal that was put forth, and they surveyed all the schools, and, over 70% said, yeah, we'd like to tweak the enrollment numbers. And the IHSAA board denied it basically and said, no, we're not going to do that. Then all of the state superintendents, got together, and 2/3 of them overruled. There was this little known clause in the bylaws, and because the state superintendents got together, they were able to overrule the board, and the classification parameters were put in place, Brian. Kind of a rare instance of when everybody kind of stood up and said, we actually do want this change.
Yep, it is. And then that's what I would suggest to people. If they want change, then go talk to their school administrators and get them together. And there's definitely a way to get it changed if people want it changed.
Yep, for sure. But until then, it is going to be subjective. It is going to be, school A and school B and what they say. And so, the process will play out, but we hope it's either way. I just hope it's resolved soon for Saxton, because that is a tough spot to be in, where you're just kind of floating in the ether, not sure where you're going to land necessarily. So anyways, Al, isn't this what people love? All this bureaucratic talk about the rules and
I would like to go back to Wiley Dobbs Invitational. The more I look at that tournament, there was several good wrestlers like Sawyer Anderson, state champion, win it. You had Tucker Bowen win it. 32s looked pretty tough with Sean Hall beating Coy Orr, and Cole Kern was third, and he's a 3-time finalist. So very tough. But the weight that really impressed, and then you had Riley Brunson win it, returning placer. But the weight that I just started looking at was really 195s. You had Gabe Finley from Buell, 4th at state, won it. Colton George was 2nd. He's a 2-time placer. Gavin Williams from Jerome, 3rd, 3-time placer. Osmond from Oahe, 4th at state. And then Cody Biggs was 5th. That was 3rd at state. That weight was loaded. So that was almost like a super state per se for that weight. I don't know if that weight will be tough in all their divisions. So in the state tournament.
Yeah.
Look at that. So they all just happen to meet those top level kids meeting that one from different divisions. There was impressive. 5A, 3A. So
I was gonna say as well, Tucker Bowen from Soda Springs. I really like this kid. He doesn't get as much buzz as some of the other 2A wrestlers, but man, the more I watch him, the more I'm impressed. I really like what he brings to the table.
He's an All-American. He's been to the big show.
University of Wyoming commit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome for sure. John says Gabe Finley was a beast at 195 at Wiley Dobbs. Amy says Finley pinned everyone too because Jacob said Riley Brunson has 73 pins in 20 matches somehow this year. Yep. Here's Zach saying Tuck is my dude. What a stud. Yes. I think we're all in agreement here. Jacob says, yep, Tuck Bone. UW commit, Wyoming, JET. So yeah, Tucker Bowen, Soda Springs, getting a little love here on the Prepcast. Matt says, I agree, Coach Al. 6th place at Dobbs 195 was the Nevada 215 state champ.
Yep, that was that was a tough weight.
Cool. Yeah, that's tough. Boy. I was going to ask one more shout out here, and then I'll ask you this question, Al. We had a shout out from Sandpoint. If I can find it. All right. While I'm looking for it, Al. So we just talked about Nevada state champ took 6th in Idaho. We've talked about how Idaho has been comparing to its contemporaries from Washington and Oregon. How is Idaho stacking up with Nevada? We're just at Reno TOC. There's good wrestlers from Nevada, but where would you place Idaho versus Nevada?
Our cream of the crop's better. Our best kids are better, hands down. They got some good. I mean, you got the Slam Academy there in Nevada. Those are like it's a charter school, but they had some real tough kids. But I say overall, I would take Idaho over Nevada. Washington would be tough. They got some studs there.
Yeah, Washington's
that would be a good match.
Yeah, Washington still is, and they've got a long history too of being really good. Here is Travis Tyler from Sandpoint. I want to say congratulations to Shane Sherrill and Jordan Tyler, Sandpoint's only placers at Tri-State. That's tough for Sandpoint to go down to Tri-State and take out all these gargantuan opponents. So
yes, Shane took 5th and Tyler was 7th. Both state placers too. They're both Idaho state placers, so that weight was deep there.
Yes, and while Tri-State was going on and Sandpoint was there, Lakeland was hosting a girls tournament as well. Bonners Ferry went up there and won that one with 170 points. Sandpoint girls took 2nd at 127. So Bonners Ferry girls really opening some eyes there in Lakeland. Jacob says Idaho beats Nevada in a duel easy. Yep, I think we're in agreement there. And Amy says it's pretty impressive seeing 195-pound guys lifting guys 5+ feet in the air on takedowns. Al, aerial display.
Yeah, I saw some big 195-pounders at Reno. These kids were huge. Yeah, they were huge. Gooley was in the finals from Meridian, and the guy he wrestled was a little bit taller than him. But there's some big. In fact, we had a 6'5" kid in the heavyweights. We had some big kids. So,
yeah, boy.
The other tournament, the Wiley Dobbs had a girls tournament as well, and I think Canyon Ridge won that. So
he did.
And Jerome was 2nd there, so that was another big girls tournament going on. Yeah,
Kuna was 3rd. I think Valet was at Nevada school or Oregon school. Then Burley
Vail. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Oregon. Yeah.
Pretty good tournament.
Yeah. Christian says Weiser had a couple placers at Tri-State. Lynn says Post Falls had quite a few wrestlers on the podium, of course. And Hoyt says, are we ready to talk about Jaden Skellinger smashing at Tri-State? He's making it look easy out there, Brian.
Definitely impressive. That was fun, super impressive. And, Post Falls, Seth Martin at 170 got a fall in the finals too against the Washington kid that's a stud. So, but Skellinger, it's just, is anybody going to touch him this year? I mean, he's fun to watch for sure.
Yeah.
I heard he may go Doc Buchanan. I'm not 100% sure, but if he does, he'll be in the mix.
Yep.
But he's wrestled at national and world level tournaments, so he'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm watching the finals. Talk about Weiser, their 95-pounder. Grove was in the finals up there too. That was super impressive. So
yeah, I think Cash Cobb took 7th there, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So
at 170, he was up there. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You guys were talking about Canyon Ridge girls winning the Wiley Dobbs. Amy was talking about Roxy Sheen from Canyon Ridge. She knocked out the Oregon State champ and took upper weight outstanding wrestler. Al, we'd love to see it.
Love to see it. I love what was happening with girls wrestling in Idaho. It's growing exponentially. I predict next year we'll have over 1,000 girls.
Yeah, we were at what, 860 something?
860, something like that. It went up 17% from last year. But considering the grassroots growth, we may see more coming forward, moving forward.
Yeah. Billy and Chelsea say go Roxy. Heather says it's so nice to see how many girls were at the Wiley Dobbs tournament. Girls wrestling is going places. Hashtag GF Pilots. Glenn's Ferry. Yes, Glenn's Ferry is on the rise too in girls wrestling. Amy wants to know how many unbeaten freshman girls are there so far?
Oh, wow.
That's a tough question, Brian.
That is. Just trying to think of who's out there. Most of the freshman girls that I've seen that I thought had a shot have lost. The Olage girl from Skyline, I think that won 165 at Ryrie. I believe she's still unbeaten. Other freshmen, who is there? There's a couple in Jerome. I think Ali Zavarka of Buell, I thought had a shot, but I think she's lost a match. It might have been at 114 that she lost. The other freshman from Jerome, Olivia Bezdezik, I thought also had a shot, but I think she actually might. That's another freshman that's probably undefeated, is Olivia from Jerome. I don't think she's lost at 120. And that's going to be a tough girls weight class, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah. I don't know, Al, any others that you can think of?
Not that I can think of, no.
Yeah. Allie's got a couple of losses. She lost to Jolie Slider, which is, no shame there.
Yeah, and she was down at 107 this week, and when she wrestled Jolie, that was 114. So still going to be fun to watch her there at 107.
Yeah. Amy says Liv and Roxy are the unbeatens. And guys, I had a faux pas. Roxy Sheen is from Buell, not Canyon Ridge. I had Canyon Ridge on my mind because they won the team title, but yes, Roxy Sheen from Buell. Sorry about that, guys.
And she's undefeated too. That's probably.
Yep. Roxy is undefeated for sure. So yes, way to go there. All right. Well, we're getting close to quitting time here, unless anybody has one last rapid fire question they want to throw in. Al, we're getting to the holiday break now. What's the schedule look like here? It's never a good time as a coach because you got to send your guys and your gals home, and they're going to eat a bunch of food, and then they got to come back.
Well, I know at Rocky we're going to have practice. For me personally, I got a couple more hidden gems I'm working on. Castagnado is coming up. Jake, I got about 3 more people. They don't know it, but I'll be contacting them soon. The hint, they're up north, right? I'm trying to get up some of the kids up north, so I'll be busy. Me personally, I'll be busy there, but our team will be practicing over the holiday.
Yep. So. At IdahoSports.com, Coach Snyder wants to know when you guys post your next rankings. It'll be tomorrow sometime. And I know we had a couple of questions about girls rankings. We will have our first girls rankings of the season tomorrow as well. It's always tougher, Brian, to rank the girls, especially when it's all one big open classification, just because you don't have as much of that head-to-head data to go off of.
Yeah, and especially not yet. I mean, girls in the East, there have been a few tournaments where we got all regions of the state together, but not really yet. Raleigh Lane's going to be telling. That'll be a good sign. You got a lot of them together there finally. But and these freshman girls coming in that are undefeated, it's really hard to compare their undefeated records with, some of these returning state placers at those weights just because they haven't seen each other yet. So, people got to be patient with the girls rankings because it's gonna be a fluid situation for sure for a little while.
Yes, and remember, it's all just a fun discussion point. It's not anything official. It doesn't have any impact. When the wrestling coaches are having their seeding meetings, they aren't going, well, the Idaho sports rankings say this. They've got their own lists they use.
Just send the information in and just take it from there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, a couple of rapid fire questions here. Greg says, shout out to Aiden Ateo for taking 3rd at Greco Senior Nationals. Al,
climbing the ladder.
Yes.
They should take notice for the 2020 for the next Olympics that he's eyeing that. That's what he wants.
Yeah,
so they better take notice because he's serious.
That's the next goal on his very long list of goals, and he's crossing them all out. Anthony says Skyline girls are going to turn some heads this year. Looking forward to that. Billy and Chelsea want to know of any teams going to Reno next weekend. Brian, do you know any?
I don't know. I've not looked at the teams for
Sierra Nevada. Sierra Nevada tournament. Is that what they're referring to?
I don't know which one.
I think it's Sierra Nevada Classic.
Yeah, December 28th, 29th. Yep. Here, I'm pulling up the teams right now, guys.
I know BK went last year.
Yeah, Caldwell's going to be there.
They'll represent.
Lakeland, Minico, Thunder Ridge is going. That's why they asked. It's because they're from Thunder Ridge. So Minico's going to be there. That'll be good. On the girls' side, Caldwell is the only girls' team, it looks like. At least that's what I'm seeing.
The Avellano sisters. I mean, they have some good girls at Caldwell, so they'll do well.
Yep, for sure. So, yeah, Lakeland's going to Sierra Nevada, CJ says. Yep, for sure. Okay, real quick, and then we're going to duck out. Last question of the night, guys. What about the 2A heavyweights, Al? This was it 2 years ago where the kid from Ryrie won the heavyweight match to give the Bulldogs the title by like a point? That was a really
down to the wire.
Yeah.
I mean, when they won, you felt like you were at the Olympic Games. You wouldn't know 2A, 3A, 4. It didn't matter. It was exciting. It set the whole place on. I mean, it was just roaring. So, yeah.
That's going to be a fun one to watch. I mean, we watched Willoughby, obviously, at Fargo. They're at New Plymouth. Team duels. Willoughby's look great. I think he's headed off to college to play football, I think, and not wrestle. But, he's going to be a beast, tough to beat. But the West Side heavyweight's solid. The Firth heavyweight is solid. It's going to be fun at 2A. See what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, for sure. And then Heather says, if you're not going to Nevada, Justin Wolf tournament in Glens Ferry on the 29th as well. So yeah, we're kind of in this bridge where there's not a ton of competitions coming up because it's the Christmas break. Then we'll get back next week from Christmas break to talk about, the matches that are coming up. But I figured, guys, maybe next week, since there won't be any results to talk about, we'll take a 1 week break for the holidays. And then when we come back, we can recap what happened in Nevada and Glens Ferry and all over. That way you guys get to enjoy your holidays a little bit. You don't have to worry about, looking good and showing up for the Prepcast. And I'm going to be traveling, and then I hate to say this, but I'm going to be doing some basketball games for IdahoSports.com. So, I'm going to be busy. So yeah. If that works for you guys, that sound okay?
Sounds great.
All right, cool. Okay. I'll promise one last question. Nick says, so is Raleigh the only credible girls wrestling tournament, or what other Idaho girls wrestling tournaments do people recognize? I think Wiley Dobbs is coming up. Yeah. The Jaybird, Al, is a huge one too, right?
That's a good tournament. It's been growing exponentially too. Went from like 100 and some girls to now 500 or 600. Yeah, it's growing. They're doing a great job there.
Yep. Burley has a tournament the week that Minico hosts their tournament. That's solid for that area. The Tiger Grizz girls tournament has grown a lot. I don't know what they've got to be pushing 50 plus teams there, I think. So, there's a few others. Raleigh's a big one, but there's a couple others.
Definitely.
So the thing that's going to we're going to need more officials. I mean, as they grow and tournaments grow, we're going to need more officials. So Brian, they may call you.
I'm always on call.
Yeah, officials are going to be needed.
Yep, for sure. So
at Reno, they had coaches from officials from California, all over. Several states were out there helping out. So
yeah, it is. That's a good. I wouldn't have thought of that, Al, but that's a great point that you bring up for sure. So, all right, that'll do it for this week's edition of the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast. We are going to take a week off for the holidays, which means we will be back in 2 weeks. for the new year. It'll be Tuesday, January 2nd. All right. So don't be too crazy on New Year's Day, guys. We need you alert and focused for the Prepcast the day after.
Don't worry. We'll be fine.
Yep. All right. Sounds good. Thanks to everybody in the comments tonight. If you could just hit that like button one more time before you duck out for the night, and then share it as well. That'll help everybody who wasn't able to be here live tonight find it a little bit easier tomorrow or the next day or the day after that. And enjoy the holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody. And we will see you
Merry
back
Christmas.
here in the new year for the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast. January 2nd, 2024 is our next show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Be there.
Merry Christmas, all.
Merry Christmas.
Yep. For Brian Zullinger and Coach Al Fontes, I'm Brandon Bainey, and we will see you in the new year on IdahoSports.com.